Hi guys, so this is a part 2 follow-up update on the first video I did about my hearing. I promised I would give you an update, so here it is. But before I get into that, I cannot in words express how grateful I am for all the comments, all the messages, the emails, everything that I've received. Every little comment wishing me well, sharing advice, sharing your story. It's been immensely helpful. Again, I cannot express enough in words how meaningful it's been to me, and I know that the comments have been meaningful to other people who have experienced similar things, who are experiencing it, and who are going to experience it, because they are going to go to YouTube, looking it up, they will see the video, and all of your comments are going to be so helpful for other people. So thank you so much for that. I just wanted to start by thanking you, although it doesn't feel like saying thank you is enough, but I hope you know how grateful I am in my heart. So I have my little notebook again, because I want to just pick up where we last left off. So if you want the full story and you haven't yet seen the first video, I guess you can watch that first. But to give it a just brief update, so I first started experiencing symptoms of sudden deafness pretty much exactly 1 month ago. I went to the ER, I got prednisolone, which is a steroid, on prescription. I took that for 10 days, and at the end of those 10 days, I could not feel like my hearing was improved or different somehow. I was still experiencing the robotic sounding voices, the echo in my ear, all of this in one ear. So I was booked for a hearing test. Before my appointment, I downloaded an app where you could do a hearing test at home. This was a few days before my actual hearing test with the audiologist. And so when it was time for my hearing test, I went in and they did the test, and they said that they could not see a significant decrease in hearing in my one ear. They said it still falls under sudden deafness, also because I'm still experiencing, and at the time I was as well, experiencing very distorted hearing in my one ear. The problem is that that is so subjective, and you can't measure the distorted hearing the way that you can measure the level of hearing. I'm trying to draw a similarity to your vision. So you might be able to see a painting, but all of the colors look different and everything is doubled. You have double vision. I don't know. It's so difficult explaining the distorted hearing. But everyone who has experienced it clearly, based on the video I posted, know what I'm talking about. So they said that based on your audio tests, because I did also do the audio tests at the ER, but not as thoroughly. And based on those tests, I got the prednisolone prescribed. So they said that you may not, or not that they said that, this was the conversation, that I may not notice that my hearing has in fact improved because of the distorted hearing that is kind of covering it up. So I still cannot hear normally. At the stage, I was referred to get a MRA, and I don't know when I'm getting that. They said it could take a few months. So I have continued to experience, again, the double hearing, the robotic voices in my ear or sounds in my ear. What's difficult is that, I get asked all the time, are you experiencing an improvement? Are you feeling better? On some days I feel like maybe I am feeling a tiny bit better, or maybe I've gotten used to it. I don't know. I think this is where things become difficult, because normal hearing to me now, although I know it's not normal, for this past month has been this distorted hearing in my one ear. I have gotten used to it to an extent, definitely not fully, but to an extent. And so I think it's so difficult knowing, have I gotten any better or am I getting used to it? I don't know. I did experience recently, in like the past 10 days, a added symptom which I did not have before. If I had it, I would have remembered it and I would have written it down because I've been journaling everything. And that is a bassy sound in my ear. So it sounds kind of like this. Like a wind, but deeper, constantly in my ear, including when I'm going to bed. I don't know if that is, how do you say that in English? Tinnitus? I don't know. In Swedish, it's tinnitus. But I've always thought that tinnitus is the beeping sound in your ear. But having learned about hearing, I've also learned that hearing is very much complicated, and there is such a broad spectrum of what you can experience in terms of deafness, hearing loss, sudden deafness, distorted hearing, tinnitus, all of that is very complicated and it's very broad. So, as for right now, I've been advised to wait it out, waiting for the MRA, and have been told there isn't really much I can do at this point. I asked for hearing aids, something that can block that unpleasant sound in my ear. Was recommended not to do that because I don't remember the conversation exactly. I think basically if you wear a hearing aid, you get used to it and the way that the hearing aid sounds, and so there is a greater chance of recovering if you try to get used to just how everything sounds normally without a hearing aid. And I don't need it for my hearing itself. So what I've been doing is when I feel like I need to rest my ears, my hearing, I have headphones that I put on. It's like a noise cancelling headphones, the ones that you can use for flying, which by the way, I'm never again flying without protecting my ears. So I put those on sometimes throughout the day just to get some rest from all the noise in the outside world. But I don't keep them on for too long because I've noticed that whenever I take them off, I feel like my symptoms are worsened. So I try to do that in moderation. So that is the symptoms and the experience briefly explained so far. Another thing is that last time I mentioned that I think this double sounding sound in my ear is something called diploacusis, which is not a diagnosis, it's just a symptom. But I've noticed that actually sometimes it's like everything sounds much louder in my ear. So a couple of weeks ago, I went on a lunch, which I hadn't done in a few weeks. And this was during rush hour. So I went for a lunch with a couple of friends, and the lunch restaurant was very busy. And everything was so loud in my ear to the point where I felt like I started to dissociate because I felt like I was in a different world than everyone else was in. And I could hear everything so loudly and uncomfortably in my ear. And so that could be something called hyperacusis. I'm not a doctor, by the way. I just make these videos now to share my experience and based on the research that I've done and the doctors that I've met. Hyperacusis, basically, at this point, I don't think it really matters, but I think I just still want to learn as much as possible, is in short when everything sounds louder. So I'm still experiencing that as well. When other people are comfortably sitting at a restaurant or at a gathering, for me, everything just sounds much louder and much more distorted. So, to sum all that up, I'm currently basically waiting. And there is not very much I can do, I've been told. In the last video, I said I was not going to do like a life update. I wasn't going to talk about my personal emotions going through all of this because I really wanted that first video to strictly be informative for other people and for myself, and to get as much information as possible. This time around, I think I can share parts of just how this has impacted my life in the past month, because that could be interesting to some people. And at this point, this is like a open journal, and I'm also getting to practice being vulnerable, which I think is pretty purposeful for me. So I have changed the way that I socialize in the past month. So I very much enjoyed before this, going out to dinners and being around people, and I haven't minded if we're a larger group, for example, and I've had the TV on and music and listening to podcasts, and I've never really paid attention to all the noises around me until this happened, which kind of changed everything because now things again sound much louder and it's more intense and it's uncomfortable. So I don't talk on the phone nearly as much as I used to do. And when I do, I don't use any headphones. Some of you asked if I have been using lots of headphones before this happened. The answer is yes. However, I've never used earpods. I've always been a wired headphones person. Some of you asked that, so I thought I could clear that out. Some of you asked if I've had COVID recently. I don't think I've had it recently. I've had minor colds, but no COVID in the past, like 6 months to a year that I know of. If I've had it, I haven't been experiencing any symptoms. So, less talking on the phone. If I talk on the phone, I use my speaker. Everyone close to me that I've used to speak on the phone with know not to call me too frequently, and if they need to call me, we keep it short. I have just now, like in the past 2 days, slowly started listening to music again. It's still uncomfortable. However, I've also realized in this past month, I guess I knew about it, but what a big part of my life music is. And I did not listen to it at all for the first like 3.5 weeks. But then I was like, let's give this a try. I'll start on a low volume, and the doctor actually told me to start listening to music just on a low volume, nothing too intense. It's not going to damage my ear any further. In fact, it can be quite good for me. And so I've started doing that, and I do that in short intervals of time. And it's been lovely. I am so grateful for music. And I hope it's something I never have to be without, or something that is going to stop being enjoyable for me. I've gained a newfound appreciation for how meaningful it is to me, because music, like with many other people, make me feel so much, and I just love feeling so much. I love being moved. I love being blown away. And a lyric or a melody can really do that to me. And I appreciate the fact that I can now slowly reintroduce music without it being too bothersome. And not as loud as I used to. Because I used to listen to pretty loud music, because I love putting it on, not in my headphones though, and getting up and dancing by myself and just like getting a ton of emotions out. And yeah, you guys don't know this, but I dance a lot around my apartment. Like when I'm cooking, I'll dance from the fridge to the pantry and then back to the stove. And I love moving, I love dancing, and I love music. So I appreciate that. Okay. I've been embracing as a substitute, because I don't scroll nearly as much, because it's very loud. Have you guys paid attention to how much sound is around us at all times? When you're scrolling on TikTok, it's like sound after sound after sound after sound, and it's very overwhelming. So I definitely scroll much less. My screen time is way down. And I've had to find substitutes. And there are many lovely things that you can do that don't require you to listen or to hear. Things like reading. I now read myself to sleep instead of listening to a podcast. I've been knitting and I made a scarf. It's been lovely. I'll just sit with my mom in quiet and we will each be knitting. And it's been lovely. I've spent so much time outdoors. I've been in the forest. I've been just in nature because it's way quieter than the city. And that too has just been lovely. And so I think it's mind-blowingly amazing how quickly our brains start to rewire and adjust to changes in our lives. It's really fascinated me, to be honest. I've enjoyed cooking a lot more because I can do it in quiet, in peace, and anything that does not require interacting too much with someone. And that is a reason dinners are kind of a no, unless it's a quieter environment, and definitely not with larger groups of people because A, all the speaking, and 2, when you are at a loud restaurant, you kind of have to yell to interact, and I'm trying to avoid yelling and being yelled at, so yeah. Okay, I feel like I'm going on a tangent. I don't even know if any of this is interesting. Actually, it's okay if it's not, or even if someone finds it interesting. I want to document this as well for myself. Is it very echo in here, or is it just me? I don't know. Is it the room, or is it my hearing, or is it both? I guess we're going to find out when I edit this. Actually, I'm not going to find out because even when I edit, it's going to sound echoey. So that was not very clever of me. Okay, but you guys tell me, is the audio echoey? Let me know. Okay. Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about 2 things. One thing being the importance of advocating for yourself and your health. When it comes to your health, it is not the time to be a people pleaser and someone who just agrees and goes with anything and everything. You need to be your biggest supporter. You need to stand up for yourself and you need to trust your intuition and not take no for an answer or not being taken seriously for an answer. I'm speaking generally here. I'm not saying that has been my experience throughout all of this, but just a reminder to, if you're experiencing any type of issues with your health, or if you're suspecting that you might be, please stand up for yourself. You are worth it, and no one else is going to care for you the way that you care for you in those moments. So you need to do that for yourself. And the second thing I want to talk about is just realizing the power of vulnerability. My videos are typically very planned out. I'll write all the talking points, I'll write the script, I want it to look a certain way, and I'm quite perfectionistic in that way, and I want the lighting to be a certain way, and I think those are all good things in moderation as long as it's enjoyable and it's something that I'm proud of. I also don't like talking too deeply about personal things. I kind of touch the surface and I make generalizations to try and keep some sort of a space between myself and, the online world. And that's been a deliberate choice. However, that also made it quite uncomfortable making that first video, opening up, because I've never really talked about any health issues or opened up in that way, and I could have also not done that, and you guys would never know. So one important thing there is that please know that what you see online is not the full truth of a person. You have no idea, genuinely no idea what happens in any person's life that you are, well, in your real life, but also specifically, I'm focusing on this point here, online. You don't know what anyone has gone through. You don't know what anyone is going through. You don't know what they are battling. Anyone can put up a front. Anyone can edit their life in any matter that they want. And most people are going to believe it. Most people are going to buy into it. You just don't know what's going on behind the scenes when it comes to someone's mental health, physical health. I've talked about this before, sometimes when I've been filming like a BRoll, I remember this one time, it's happened multiple times, but this one time specifically, I had to get some BRoll shots for a video, and I was having the absolute worst day. I was crying prior, and I was crying afterwards. And then I went home, I edited my video, and I looked at the BRoll, and it turned out great. And I thought to myself, isn't it insane, comical, how anyone watching this video is just going to see some beautiful BRoll with me in it, looking fine, looking happy even. They don't know that I just spent all this time crying before shooting that, all this time crying after shooting that. And you don't need to know. The point is not that we all need to share everything. That's not the point at all. But just know that you know so little about everyone that you are watching. And I don't want to get into, I don't want to preach, kindness at all, actually. I'm not even interested in doing that. But I guess just keep in mind some gentleness. Yeah. And lastly, speaking of the power of vulnerability, despite the discomfort, I had no doubt in my mind that I wanted to create this video, or the first video I made. Because I was searching on YouTube, desperately, sudden deafness, diplocusis, all of that. And I couldn't really find what I was looking for. And then I said, wait, I'm on YouTube. I have a platform and an amazing community. Why don't I create that video? So me creating it may not give me what I'm looking for, but it's going to give so many other people what they're looking for, because, wow, you guys really came through with your advice and sharing your experiences, and it was mind-blowingly beautiful and fascinating to see. And again, thank you for that.